As we move into mid-January, the UK finds itself once again under the influence of classic Atlantic-driven weather patterns, a familiar story for this time of year, but with its own unique twists and turns. After last week's biting freeze, temperatures have moderated, bringing a milder feel to the air. Yet, despite the relative warmth, there's no mistaking the wintry atmosphere that still lingers across the country. People are out and about in lighter winter coats, but scarves and hats remain a common sight, and the landscape retains its subdued, frosty hues. The prevailing Atlantic flow is ushering in a spell of changeable, unsettled conditions. We're seeing a constant dance between thick cloud cover, occasional brighter intervals, and bands of rain sweeping in from the west. These showers are often interspersed with brief moments of sunshine, creating a patchwork of weather that can change from hour to hour, especially in western regions. Daytime temperatures are hovering close to the seasonal average, generally ranging from the mid-single digits to low double digits Celsius. However, the air still carries a chill, especially when the wind picks up, or the sun dips behind the clouds. It's a clear reminder that, even with milder spells, winter's grip is far from loosening. Scotland, in particular, is feeling the effects of recent heavy rainfall combined with snowmelt from the highlands. The ground is saturated, riverbanks are swollen, and some rural areas are dealing with localized flooding. This combination of rain and melting snow is keeping river levels high and making travel in some regions more challenging. As night falls and skies begin to clear, especially across northern parts of the UK, temperatures are set to plunge well below freezing. This rapid drop will allow frost and ice to form quickly on untreated roads and pavements, creating hazardous conditions for anyone heading out early in the morning. An official ice warning is in effect for northern Scotland and parts of northern England. Morning commuters are urged to take extra care, as black ice may be difficult to spot and could lead to dangerous slips or travel delays. The UK is currently in a period of transition, shifting from the recent spell of stable, cold, and settled weather to a more unsettled mobile pattern. This means more frequent changes in conditions, with windier spells, bursts of rain, and fluctuating temperatures becoming the norm over the coming days. But this unsettled spell is just the beginning. Looking ahead, weather models are hinting at a dramatic shift later in the month. There are signs that colder air could return with renewed force, bringing the potential for more widespread frost, ice, and even snow as winter reasserts itself across the UK. The week ahead stays unsettled and cool, with low-pressure systems tracking south of the UK and bringing rain, especially to southern and eastern areas. Tuesday starts settled but quickly turns wet as heavy rain pushes in from the southwest. Wednesday brings a damp, chilly commute for many, with highs struggling to reach 6 degrees Celsius. Thursday sees another bout of cold rain, with sleet or wet snow possible on the highest ground. By Friday, the rain clears, leaving a drier but brisk day. Temperatures range from 3 degrees in the north to 7 in the south. The weekend continues the chilly trend, with overnight frosts returning, especially in the north. Expect a mix of sunshine and cloud, but keep those winter layers handy. The Atlantic's grip loosens slightly, but the cold lingers. This week, it's especially important to stay alert for weather warnings across the UK. Conditions are set to be unpredictable, and being prepared could make all the difference to your safety and travel plans. In northern Scotland, after recent rain and snowmelt, the risk of ice is particularly high. As the moisture left behind by melting snow refreezes overnight, roads and pavements can quickly become treacherous, even if they look clear at first glance. With temperatures set to drop sharply after dark, black ice is a real hazard for both drivers and pedestrians. It's nearly invisible, forming a thin, glassy layer that can catch out even the most careful among us, so take extra care on untreated surfaces and shaded spots. Meanwhile, in southern and eastern England, the main story is heavy rain. Persistent downpours are likely to cause localized flooding, especially in low-lying areas and places where drains are already struggling to cope. Poor drainage and already saturated ground mean that even a short burst of rain could lead to tricky travel conditions. If you're heading out, waterproof clothing and sturdy footwear are essential, and it's wise to allow extra time for your journey. On higher ground, especially in the Welsh Mountains and the Peak District, Thursday's cold rain could briefly turn to sleet or even a dusting of snow. Upland routes may become slippery or briefly snow-covered, so check local forecasts if you're traveling through these areas. As the week draws to a close, a change in the weather brings drier air and clearer skies, especially in the north. This means the return of sharp, overnight frosts, with temperatures dipping well below freezing in some rural spots. Expect crisp, bright mornings with beautiful winter sunshine, but also be ready for icy patches on roads and pavements, and the familiar morning ritual of scraping frost from your windscreen before setting off. It's a classic British winter mix: rain, ice and frost all making an appearance, sometimes within the same day. The weather can change quickly, so it pays to keep an eye on the latest updates. Stay prepared for rapidly changing conditions by checking forecasts regularly, keeping winter gear handy, and allowing extra time for journeys. With a little caution and planning, you can stay safe and make the most of the season's ever-changing weather. Meteorologists are watching a major pattern change for late January, with models now strongly signaling a shift away from Atlantic systems to something much colder. A powerful high-pressure block is forecast to develop over Scandinavia, cutting off milder Atlantic air and steering winds from the east. This setup could drag frigid continental air across Europe and into the UK. Model agreement is high, making this shift increasingly likely. The main questions: how intense will the cold be, and how long will it last? This easterly pattern is notorious for bringing the UK's harshest winter weather. Think the beast from the east of 2018. Forecasters are now focused on just how severe this cold snap could become. Weather models, GFS, ECMWF, and GEM, are all converging on a late January scenario, a Scandinavian high and cold easterly winds for the UK. Ensemble forecasts show a marked drop in projected temperatures, signaling a prolonged cold spell rather than a brief chill. Dew point charts confirm the arrival of dry, cold continental air, not the milder, humid Atlantic type. This is a fundamental shift in the hemispheric pattern, with models locking onto a cold, blocked setup for Northwest Europe. Details like timing and intensity vary, but the message is clear: a significant cold spell is coming. The days of milder Atlantic air are numbered. Prepare for crisp, raw conditions as winter tightens its grip. The UK should brace for a sustained period of cold. The GFS and GEM models both predict an easterly flow but differ in severity. GFS shows chilly air from Europe, bringing frosts and wintry showers, especially in the east, cold but not extreme. The flow is slack, so snow would be limited and mostly dry. GEM, however, taps into much colder Siberian air, suggesting a true beast from the east event. This would mean bitter cold, daytime highs below freezing, and significant sea-effect snow for eastern Britain. The GEM scenario is the most disruptive, with heavy snow and severe cold. Both models agree on a cold end to January, but the extent of the cold and snow remains uncertain. The UK could see anything from a frosty spell to a high-impact winter event. The ECMWF model, often the most reliable, also predicts a Scandinavian high and easterly winds, but with a twist. It suggests a battleground over the UK, as milder air from the south tries to undercut the cold from the east. This could delay the arrival of the coldest air and create messy, complicated weather. The clash of air masses may bring significant precipitation, rain, sleet, or snow, especially if the boundary stalls over the UK. This setup raises the risk of disruptive snowfall, particularly in southern and central regions. The outcome depends on which air mass wins, a frosty easterly or a prolonged wintry mix. The ECMWF scenario could bring the most significant snow, even if the coldest air arrives later. The UK faces a period of uncertainty with the potential for major winter impacts. As we approach the final 10 days of January, weather models are painting a fascinating and complex picture for the UK. Forecasters are closely monitoring the evolving patterns, and three main scenarios are emerging as the most likely outcomes for this period. Each scenario brings its own set of challenges and opportunities, and the details will depend on how the atmospheric conditions develop over the coming weeks. The most probable scenario is a significant cold spell, even colder than what we experienced in early January. Persistent easterly winds are expected to dominate, ushering in sharp frosts and frequent wintry showers. These conditions will be especially pronounced in the east and south of the country, where the cold air will have the greatest impact. Residents in these areas should prepare for icy mornings, slippery pavements, and the possibility of snow settling on rooftops and gardens. Over time, this could lead to gradual snow accumulation, which may disrupt travel, slow down daily commutes, and transform familiar neighborhoods into picturesque winter scenes. The wintry landscape will be both beautiful and challenging, with increased risks for drivers and pedestrians alike. In the most extreme scenario, the UK could experience a direct tap into frigid Siberian air. This would bring a spell of severe cold, with daytime highs struggling to rise above freezing and nights plunging well below zero. Heavy sea-effect snow could blanket eastern regions, leading to blizzards, hazardous travel, and even risks to health and infrastructure, such as power outages and frozen pipes. Alternatively, a milder version of the easterly flow could set in. In this case, the winds would draw in less frigid air, resulting in a chilly but more manageable spell. Expect frosty mornings, crisp afternoons, and only occasional light snow or sleet. This scenario would still feel wintry, but with far less disruption to daily life. No matter which scenario unfolds, one thing is certain: the UK is in for a period of cold days, frosty nights, and the ever-present potential for snow, particularly in eastern areas. Residents should be ready for icy conditions and keep an eye on local forecasts for updates. Ultimately, the exact outcome will depend on the precise source and strength of the easterly winds. Small shifts in the weather pattern could mean the difference between a manageable cold snap and a truly disruptive winter blast. So, as we head into late January, be prepared for anything. From a crisp, invigorating cold snap to a dramatic and potentially disruptive winter storm. Make sure to stay informed, stock up on essentials, and take precautions if severe weather warnings are issued. With the potential for dramatic changes, the UK remains on alert for a memorable and possibly challenging end to January. With a major cold spell likely, now's the time to prepare. Dig out your warmest coats, hats, and gloves. Layering is key for staying warm and healthy. Check your home's heating and insulate pipes to prevent freezing. For your car, top up antifreeze, check tires, and keep a winter kit. Blanket, torch, snacks, just in case. Look out for vulnerable neighbors and family. A quick check-in can make all the difference. Cold weather can seriously impact health, especially for those with existing conditions. Stay updated with the latest forecasts and heed Met Office warnings for snow, ice, and low temperatures. By preparing and supporting each other, we can weather the coming cold safely. Winter is set to return. Be ready for whatever it brings.